Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, lived a handsome prince who longed to find a real princess to be his bride. He searched every corner of the world, meeting many young women who called themselves princesses. Some were beautiful, some were clever, and some were kind. But the prince always felt that something wasn't quite right. He couldn't be certain if they were truly real princesses. With a heavy heart, he returned to his castle, more discouraged than ever. He began to think he would never find the true princess he was dreaming of. One evening, a terrible storm raged across the land. Thunder boomed, lightning flashed across the dark sky, and the rain poured down in sheets. In the midst of this wild weather, there was a gentle knock at the castle gate. The old king himself went to open the heavy doors, and standing there was a young woman. What a sight she was! Rainwater streamed from her hair and dripped from her clothes. It ran in rivers from the tips of her shoes. Yet through it all, she looked up with a polite smile and said, "I am a real princess." The prince and his mother, the queen, welcomed the drenched princess inside, offering her a warm fire and dry clothes. "Well, we'll soon find out if that's true," the old queen thought to herself. But she didn't say a word. Instead, she smiled kindly at the girl. While the princess warmed herself by the fireplace, the queen devised a clever plan. She quietly slipped away, holding a single tiny green pea between her fingers. She had an idea, a test that only a real princess, with the most delicate and sensitive nature, could possibly pass. The queen went straight to the guest bedroom. She ordered her servants to take all the bedding off the bedstead. Then, right in the very middle, she placed the single tiny pea. After that, she had the servants bring in 20 thick mattresses and stack them one on top of the other, right over the pea. And on top of those 20 mattresses, she had them pile 20 soft eiderdown quilts. This was where the princess was to spend the night. It was a bed so tall, it nearly touched the ceiling. When the bed was ready, the princess was shown to her room. She looked up at the towering stack of mattresses with a nervous smile. It seemed more like a mountain than a bed. With a little help, she carefully climbed the ladder placed beside it, finally reaching the very top. She snuggled down under the quilts, thanking the queen for her kindness, and tried to get some sleep. But sleep would not come. The princess tossed and turned all night long. She tried lying on her back, then on her side, but nothing worked. She felt as though she were lying on something hard and lumpy, and it was terribly uncomfortable. She couldn't understand what it could be. It felt like a rock was digging into her back, making it impossible to find a comfortable position. The moonlight streamed through the window, showing her wide awake, troubled face as she waited for the long night to end. The next morning, the queen came to see her. "Good morning, my dear," she said with a knowing smile. "Did you have a good night's rest?" The tired princess tried her best to be polite. "Oh, thank you for asking," she replied, trying to hide a yawn. "But I hardly slept a wink all night. Heaven knows what was in that bed. I felt like I was lying on something hard, and I am black and blue all over. It was simply dreadful." The queen and the prince exchanged an astonished look. This was the proof they needed. They immediately called the servants to dismantle the bed. Mattress after mattress was lifted away until finally they reached the very bottom. And there, sitting on the bedstead, was the tiny green pea. Everyone stared in amazement. Only a true princess could have such delicate skin and be so sensitive as to feel a tiny pea through 20 mattresses and 20 eiderdown quilts. The prince was overjoyed. He had finally found his real princess. He knew at once that this was the woman he wanted to marry. He took her hand, looked into her tired but happy eyes, and asked her to be his wife. A grand wedding was planned, and the entire kingdom celebrated. The prince and princess stood together in the sunlit garden, surrounded by cheering subjects and falling flower petals. ready to start their life together. And what became of the pea? It wasn't thrown away or eaten, of course. It was far too important for that. The pea was placed on a velvet cushion inside a special glass case and put on display in the Royal Museum. There visitors could see it for themselves and hear the story of how it proved the identity of a real princess. And so, the prince and his princess lived happily ever after. Their story a reminder that sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest difference. Thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful story. We hope you enjoyed it. If you love fairy tales and bedtime stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more magical adventures. We can't wait to see you again soon. Bye for now.